Hello. It's been a while. Really anxious to make this video. I have some knitting here to kind of manage all of that. Yeah, it's been a really long time. I feel like I'm at a crossroad today that if I don't upload a video today, that I don't think I will ever be able to return to book reviewing, to this channel, reading even. The past couple of years has been rough, to say the least. Lots of really bad experiences, and that has kind of made it so that I can't really read that much. I haven't read all that much the past couple of years, and that's something that's pretty essential for a book reviewing channel. So over the years I've kind of developed this strange complex around reading, reviewing this channel that have really incapacitated me, and it feels like just torture, to say the least. I mean, I've not been on this channel for years, but I wouldn't even say that it's been in the back of my mind. It's been in the middle, at the forefront. And for context, the past couple of years I managed to get my bachelor's degree in econometrics. I went to Japan for half a year, and 3 years that I started working part-time at this point, or freelance, as a costume maker. So I make knitwear. I have basically a vintage knitwear brand where I make where I reproduce vintage knitwear, and I also work as a costume maker for the entertainment industry. Like right now I am making some cardigans for an opera in Detroit. Yeah, so that's what I've been doing, and I've been kind of documenting that journey on various platforms like Reddit and TikTok and also YouTube. And more and more people who used to watch this channel have found me via all of those endeavors, and so that's made it that this book channel, going from its regular haunt, it's like on nightmare mode now. It's feels like it's consuming me, and I really hate to sound really dramatic, but there's just a lot of trauma that's around this channel, just because of the fact that things have just been so bad that I have lost something that has been a huge part of my life for a very long time. Not just only this channel, but just reading in general, and that just registers like as a huge trauma. And I don't know if I said this before, but yeah, that's just this weird complex that I have now, where I associate something that used to be so much fun with a lot of anxiety, with a lot of hurt, pain, and I wanted to stop. I really want to kind of slowly try and reclaim the parts of my life that really gave me a lot of joy. And so the only way that I can really do that is just by biting the bullet and just uploading again. But it's so hard, and I think one of the things that's really stopping me is that I have such a negative view of my reviews, my opinions. I don't really feel like what I've said in the past and what I could say in the future surrounding books or whatever is of much value. And objectively, I can say that that's not true, but intrinsically, it's really hard to convince myself that isn't the case. And so I just have to kind of say, okay, screw it, I'm just gonna make stuff. Doesn't matter how I personally feel about it. And hopefully at some point I can get to a place where I can feel a bit more positive about things. And so that's why I'm making this video. Oh my gosh, I can't even think about editing this. I think this is just gonna go up without any editing whatsoever, so my apologies for that. Yeah, so I feel really bad about how I've ran my Patreon as well, because it was supposed to be the point that there was just gonna be a book club. And I mean, I ran the book club for I think about a year or two, 1.5 years, and then just the bad stuff just came, just like there was just a non-stop train of bad stuff happening. And I just feel really bad, and it's even giving me anxiety to talk about it, to even like come up with something to kind of make it up to everyone who has supported me over the years. Yeah, so that's it basically. I think I was thinking just to make this video talking about like, okay, why haven't I been uploading? I'm just gonna use this half-made scarf as a tissue, but why I haven't been uploading. But I think also I should just try and talk about what I have been reading or trying to read, just to kind of take the edge off of the next video, if I'm even able to do that. So I have a stack of books here that I keep, that I try to look at when I'm in my reading chair, my reading corner. I made this quite recently. I have my studio where most of my knitwear stuff is done, and then I have this room here where it's all about relaxation, etc, etc. So yes, I have my books here, and I haven't prepared anything whatsoever, so you have my sincerest apologies for what I'm about to say about these books, because I might get a couple of things wrong. Okay, I spent a couple of seconds staring blankly at these covers, and so I'm just gonna wing it. First up, I have Yuko Tsushima's of Dogs and Walls. This is book number 43 of Penguin Classics. No, the Penguin Modern Classics series. I have 3 of these books. I used to have the black version of this series, which were just the Penguin Classics, and I ended up not really enjoying those, also because I found that some of the books that I picked up were just excerpts of longer stories, which kind of felt like a bummer, and I myself had expected them to just be short stories. In any case, this one right here contains 2 short stories from Tsushima. It's translated from the Japanese to the English by Geraldine Harcourt. I'm pretty sure she's the translator for all of Tsushima's English releases. Yeah, I read this one previously, I think about 3 years ago, but I don't think I had the best comprehension of the the stories, because it's very imagery heavy, and a lot of it, at least for me, didn't click at first, just because I wasn't quite well versed in Tsushima's life. Now, Tsushima passed away, I believe, back in 2016 or 2014, but she was actually the daughter of Osamu Dazai. If you know anything about Japanese classics, that name will be quite familiar to you. He is the writer behind Ningen Shikaku. What's the English name of that? No Longer Human. Yeah, that's one of the first classics that kind of will pop up if you look for Japanese classics. And he himself had a very turbulent life. That story in and of itself is very autobiographical, and that guy had a very turbulent life. And what ended up happening is that he left his wife, Tsushima's mother, and then got someone else pregnant, left that person as well, and then I think maybe 2 years after both of these daughters were born, he went ahead and drowned himself together with his mistress in a river in Japan. So you can imagine that there's a lot of trauma surrounding Tsushima's family, and so that's something that's featured in this collection. But also she herself, she was a single mother, and within Japanese culture, that basically instantly pushes you out to the boundaries, or at least, well, I mean, still now, I think, but definitely in the 80s, in the 70s, you would basically live at the fringes of Japanese society. So a lot of her work is about women who live in that space, and that's something that's really interesting to me. It's something I can relate to, not necessarily as a single mother, because I'm not, but just kind of feeling like an outcast of society, not really feeling that you fit in. But I do feel like that's kind of a very common feeling for people who are neurodivergent. Yeah, so these two stories, I think one specifically is about the drowning death of her father, the watery realm, and just tons and tons of symbolism. And I think it's already been a couple of months since I read Of Dogs and Walls, so the reason why it's still here is that I want to try and read it again and actually do some more research and get a better understanding of Tsushima's work. I think it's really interesting. Also, reading Dazai's work, I have really enjoyed his work as well. Also, some of his non-translated work is very interesting, and so being able to compare these two authors is something that I think is just very fascinating. I have another book of hers as well, The Shooting Gallery and Other Stories. This is again another short story collection. I believe I only read one, and I read this one story last year, A Sensitive Season. I think it's about Yes, so this is about a boy whose mother abandoned him, and so now his grandfather and his aunt are the two people who are left to take care of him. And actually it's just the aunt, because the grandfather is, I believe he's disabled. He's not um able to take care of himself, so the aunt takes care of both the grandfather and the boy. And because of that, I believe she had to quit her job as a kindergarten teacher. And so you kind of get to see the resentment of this forced motherhood um, on this woman. Sorry, wait, I'm trying to formulate this correctly, but you get to see the resentment and all different kinds of emotions that the aunt is feeling from the perspective of the boy, which is very interesting because it's there's kind of this veil of childhood in front, and so he doesn't exactly understand her feelings and her actions. So I thought that that was very interesting. And I mean, like I said, I read this a year ago, and I think that the quality of the story is evident in the fact that I could recall so much still after a year. Then I have Denton Welch in Youth is Pleasure. I can't really say much about this book. I started reading this a couple of months ago when I was commuting about 3 hours a day. Yeah. This I picked this up just because I thought it would be interesting. Welch, I think, passed away at a quite young age. He was a gay guy, a gay man, and this book features elements, I believe, from his life, or just yeah, it was a controversial classic to have been written at the time that it was. Yeah, first published in 1945, this is an unforgettable portrayal of a young man's sensuous coming of age. So 1945, I believe this was published in the United Kingdom. You can imagine how controversial this is, or this was at the time. So this is a book I will be getting back to soon. Let's hope. And then, oh yes, I did make a TikTok about this book, Revenge by Yoko Ogawa. I listened to this several years ago, and it's excellent. It's such a good book. It's translated by Stephen Snyder. I read Ogawa's Memory Police as well, but I do have to say that this is the book that I prefer. It's a short story collection. Love a good short story collection. But the interesting thing about this is that all the stories are intertwined. And so as you're reading the story, you're kind of working as a detective, trying to connect the dots and trying to put the characters in the correct places. At least that's something that I really enjoy doing or have been enjoying doing when reading this book. I think I've read the first 3 or 4 short stories. I think this is a classic example of why I really love contemporary Japanese literature written by women. There's this absurdity that is in this book that really speaks well to me. For me, it feels like Sayaka Murata's work. Earthlings, not as crazy as Earthlings, but it has this absurdist fuel to it. It's very strange. I mean, for instance, you have these 2 kids. One girl and a boy. The girl asks the boy to go with her to lunch. She's meeting her father for the first time. I think he was like a prominent politician, and he got her mother pregnant, but now she's passed away, and so she needs, I think she yeah, needs financial support. She's in middle school, secondary school. Anyway, they go to the dinner or to the lunch, and they walk back home, and then they find, I believe, a post office filled with kiwis. It's just weird. It's just really weird. But there's also this horror element to it as well. A young kid gets found in a freezer, and that's something that I also really like about the way in which the horror elements get introduced in the story. In the first story, you're just kind of reading about a woman who is going to a pastry shop, and she wants to get a shortcake for her son. She gets talking to a woman who's also there for some pastries. The woman manning the shop isn't available at the time, so they get to talking, and the way the story is told at first, it's kind of cozy. The scenery outside gets explained, the bakery, the pastry shop gets described, and it's very relaxing. And then the woman tells the story of how her son disappeared, and she found him in a freezer, in a random freezer in a parking lot, I think. And just the breakneck speed at which the story changes is something that I love, because it just it just it just hits, Yes, so that's this book. Haven't finished it yet. And then The Dark Domain by Stefan Grabiński, a Polish writer from the 20th century, if I'm correct. The reason why I actually got this book is because several years ago I had the idea to talk about horror classics that weren't part of the typical Western canon. I think when we talk about classics, there's already kind of a set rule of books or authors that we talk about. I mean, Shakespeare, Jane Austen, the Bronte sisters, who else do we have? Dickens. Why is it so hard for me to name these names on the spot? Yeah, we just have set names, and there are so many classics that just don't get discussed but are just as good as the popular ones. And so that's why I got this book. I read about Grabiński online, and his work seemed very interesting to me, so I got the book. Never read it, picked it up back in April, read I think 2 stories. I'm on the 3rd now, and it's great. It's speculative fiction, horror. It kind of reminds me of Stephen King a bit, some of the stories. I don't know, yeah. So the first story is about a guy, and he's on this expedition, and it's freezing. He loses, I think, other people he was traveling with, and he ends up in this weird hut. This weird hut that just randomly appears out of nowhere. He enters, and then he finds this sensual woman there, and something's off. Something's really off. I won't say more, also because I don't think I would be able to precisely explain stuff, but maybe in the future I can make a video about the short stories. Let me know if you're interested in any of that. But yeah, those were the books that were here in my lounge area. this is so weird because now I actually feel quite good being able to talk about these books, despite it not being the best reviews or anything like that. But yeah, just something that I need to deal with. Yeah, if you made it through this far in this video, thank you so much. I kind of want to apologize for being gone for so long, especially to my patrons. Thank you for everyone who has still been supporting me, and thank you to everyone who sent me such nice messages these past couple of weeks online. And I hope to see you soon in another video. Bye!